The internet, an invention of the 1960s that has changed our way of living drastically. In the early 1990s, the World Wide Web was introduced to humanity. Me, and probably you as well, were born in a world that already has the internet. We've grown up with it and realized it as it was, never really thinking deeply about the internet. You can easily share information by the click of a button. It's a way for people to connect with others around the world. You're currently watching a video from your home looking at a funny Dutch guy speaking English. So yeah, it's fascinating to know that we have the access to so much information. And yes, here's the but, this could also be a negative. The internet, when used properly, can be a great friend. But when the internet isn't used properly, it can be your greatest enemy. Why would you ever leave your desk? I mean, everything is right there. This is one of the dangers of being online. There are so many things you can do. The options are literally endless. You end up wasting hours on multiple subjects that are irrelevant to you. This is, again, to release dopamine in the brain. And being on the internet does not only make you physically lazy, but also mentally. We currently have all the answers to our questions immediately. 30 years ago, you had to actually put in time and energy to find an answer. You can say that we're currently living in a better time where a lot of energy and time is saved. But what this actually does is stop our critical thinking because you can just look it up in a couple of seconds. It's kind of instant gratification when you really think about it. You immediately get the answer without putting in the hard work. And we all know that instant gratification is not very good for us. And so yeah, our critical thinking ability starts to decrease when you just Google things. The internet connects us all. It's definitely a benefit to speak to each other so quickly. But what I've noticed is that the personal connections we have with people start to decrease. We become more isolated in our lives and focused on the digital part of communication. We don't even try to talk to strangers in real life anymore. Technology has made everything so incredibly easy. It would be silly to actually try and start a conversation with a new person, right? Why should you even bother? Well, this actually decreases your social skills when you don't talk to new people, and this could increase your anxiety as well. Social skill, and the word already says it, is a skill, and you must train that skill for it to become better. Once you realize that talking to people in real life benefits you and your social skills, you'll notice that talking in real life is actually easier than online. Why? Because you can see the other person's face, emotion, voice, and body language. So yeah, our attention span is also lowering. I've told you guys this many times. Yeah, it's not just the social media apps, it's the internet as a whole. It's probably because we want answers right away. It's an instant gratification habit, and by expecting the answers from the internet immediately, we lower our attention span. You've probably noticed how long your parents or grandparents take on the internet and how well they look at a couple of things. And the internet generation is very fast with this and knows immediately where to look. Even while I was doing research to make this video, I was expecting to find immediate answers, kind of worrying how that works unconsciously. This continuous consumption makes us focus on the digital world and less on the real world. You forget how fun and beautiful real life can be due to the many distractions on the internet. I made a video on modern conformity a while ago and how we buy stuff we don't need to try and fit in. This also happens online. A lot of the things on the internet are developed to waste your time and please your consumer needs. When you look at clothes on the internet, you picture yourself wearing that piece of clothing, then the dopamine hits and you start buying. A couple of weeks later, and this piece of clothing lies in the back of your closet. And then the cycle of consumerism continues. You do not only spend money on things you don't need, but you waste a lot of valuable time thinking about these items. Are the clothing items in your closet really not good enough? Why do you want this clothing item? Is it to impress yourself or other people? We think that these materialistic things make us happy. And in the short term they do, but in the long term they do not make us any happier than we were before buying that piece of clothing. Okay, so I haven't watched porn for a couple of months now, and I feel great and confident, and that's how I want to get into the next dangerous thing that is on the internet, porn. Okay, so porn is a big one. Porn and fapping as well have negative effects on your physical and mental health. Now let's get into physical health first. Now, there hasn't been long-term studies on not fapping, but one study showed that after a couple of weeks of not fapping, testosterone increased. This eventually lowered, but that was also the end of the study. But yeah, an increase in testosterone means higher sex drive, funny enough, increased muscle mass, sharper memory, and an increased energy. I feel personally much more energized, disciplined, and confident when I don't masturbate. I've been more goal-driven and focused. This could be placebo. You have to take this with a grain of salt, but it's my personal experience. I believe the benefits of not spanking the monkey. And yeah, there are many other YouTubers that agree with me as well. So yeah, physically you'll feel like an unstoppable monster once you quit these habits. But now let's get into porn and what it does to your mental health and emotional health, and how it is affecting you as a young man negatively. I remember my sex education in high school. It was really weird. It wasn't good education. We were informed on safe sex, what the vagina is, what the penis is, what they look like, but that was it. Not real in-depth lessons of what sex really is, what relationships are, and sexual orientation and stuff. It didn't have that, and it was very shallow. I think many young men have the same thing in school. They don't get good sex education and look at porn as a form of sex education. They think that that is reality, but it isn't. Porn is fiction and should never, ever be taken seriously. These porn films are directed by old male directors that have nasty fantasies, because that's what you're really jacking off to, an old man's fantasy. Once you see porn as reality, you'll start to sexualize girls in the wrong places at the wrong times. You won't have success with these women because you're seen as the weird delusional creep, and you also could get social anxiety and depression because you have a different view on reality. The negative effects just basically outweigh the positive. And when you stop watching porn, you'll feel so much more happy, more in touch with the world, and most importantly, you'll start seeing girls as normal human beings and treat them as such and not as objects like in the porn films. So yeah, that's a tough thing to kick while using the internet, but I recommend you to stop fapping and stop watching porn at the same time. Just quitting cold turkey is what works best for me, so definitely try this. It will be uncomfortable, but this is a good way to test and train your discipline. Now, there are things to keep the internet consumption under control. You have to realize that you have the power to change your habits. You're just used to some things and are working on autopilot. You need to change this with the 3 R's of habit formation, and this has been proven many times by researchers. You can look this up and we'll find many trusted sources who talk about this as well. So yeah, the 3 R's are reminder, routine, and reward. So let's try this out with masturbation and porn. So first, the reminder. You're looking on the internet and see a picture of a half-naked girl. You get those feelings in your brain and think of spanking the monkey. Then the routine. You go to Pornhub, like you always do, and start cuffing the carrot. And then the reward. Once you've made the bald man cry, you get an orgasm, aka dopamine gets released, and that is the reward. You need to think about your reminder. At what time are you scrolling on the internet? Where are you doing this and why? Once you've realized this, you need to change this unhealthy reminder to a healthy one. You have to get rid of this trigger. Also acknowledge the good habits and apply the 3 R's to them. Yeah, this will help you to be consistent with healthy activities. So let's say when you're working out, once you've completed a workout, look at yourself in the mirror and flex as hard as you can. That's your reward for the hard work, and it will make it more attractive to do again tomorrow, because you know that there is a reward coming, and you'll more likely keep that healthy activity fitness habit. And yeah, don't listen to the people who say flexing is for narcissists, because it isn't. Show your hard work. Then another thing you have to realize is that the internet is not your enemy. It's you. You are the enemy, because you're fully responsible for this place you're currently in. Don't blame the internet, society, or people for your situation. You have the bad habits and you keep consuming. Once you realize this, you'll start taking control and start changing your life. So acknowledge these unhealthy habits, like I said. It's also like a kind of a good feeling when you're fully responsible for the things, even though they're bad, because then you will really have the power to change them and transform them to positive habits. Also, try to make it a habit of first thinking of your problems before looking them up on the internet. Give your brain some work and let it think about things critically. When you don't know the answer to a problem, do the following. Think of the topic for 5 minutes and come up with an answer. Then you can look it up on the internet and see why that answer is the way it is. Eventually try and increase the time you're thinking about a problem. This will increase your critical thinking again and will make your brain more active. You probably are not learning enough on the internet as well. What are some of the things you really want in life? Think of these things. Then look on the internet for courses, articles, tutorials, self-help videos on these topics. You'll be amazed at how many useful things are on the web. But yeah, this can be boring sometimes, of course. Mostly people want instant gratification and look at quick entertainment, but this is the way to get addicted. Don't become dependent on the internet. Change this mindset and use the internet as a tool to expand your knowledge, because the internet can be your friend or your foe. You choose.